here we are. This is S.x Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psycho-sexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
And you've brought up slut a couple of times, which is one of the biggest reasons I was like, we gotta have you. We gotta talk about this. I fucking love this when I saw that you were publishing pieces of your work diary of a sacred slut. And to focus in on even just that word slut, there's so much controversy around the use of that word in our society and in the feminist culture too, where there's arguments on either side. There's been movements towards the reclamation of the word slut. We've seen this in like the book Ethical Slut. We've seen this in the slut walk protests. We've seen the use of slut shaming as a negative connotation, even storylines in TV where it's more about women's sexual autonomy. And I love this. And yet at the same time, there's also counter arguments from the feminist community that there's efforts towards reclaiming this term is actually pretty fruitless because it's deeply ingrained in the association of slut as something that's derogatory or that in rape culture has been used to police feminine sexuality and the hypersexualization of female bodies. So with these countering arguments, what do you see as your perspective and how have you used that in as inspiration for your work?
Yeah, so I understand both sides. Like, I definitely get it. And I think for me, it's like I was called and I think this is a story for so many people, especially women, because our sexuality has like been used against us more so than men, because men are allowed to fuck around and it's just cool for them and they don't really, whatever. It's another conversation, I guess, maybe. But I was called a slut before I'd even like kissed anybody. Like I was called a slut when I was just like flirting with guys in bands and like going to shows and like literally hadn't even had my first kiss. So it's like, and like I know for myself, like I've written about this in my essay series. It's like I, have struggled with feeling really prudish, and then I've struggled with feeling really slutty. And like at the end of the day, I'm a Scorpio moon and I like things that are kind of like subversive, not in an edgelord way, but in a way that like connects me to like my shadow in a yummy, delicious way. And like, I don't know, if I was called slut before I was a slut and like now I'm actually a slut, like I fucking love that word. I'm gonna use it. And like I kind of like that, like it makes people uncomfortable. Like I've always said this, I still firmly believe it. Like my work is not for everybody. It's who it's for. If it resonates with you, that's great. But like I'm not here writing my books to please everybody, because you're never gonna please anybody,
Yeah.
And while I understand that slut does have a negative connotation, it's not like I'm using the N-word. It's not like I'm using like a racial slur. Like women's sexuality has always been policed and it's going to continue being policed whether I use the word slut or not. Like, so for me, it's just, I like it. I think it has a nice sound to it. I like that it to me represents like a woman who is, or somebody who is sexually independent and making their own choices outside of the confines of like heteronormative vanilla monogamy. And as somebody who tries to live outside of that like kind of dichotomy anyway, it feels really resonant. And like again, I mentioned that paradox and duality are really like big teachers for me and are things that really inspire me. Like because slut is something that has this negative connotation in like normal life, the idea for me of being a sacred slut made it just was like, first off, it just sounds nice. I love the alliteration, but beyond that, it's like, no, I'm doing all the slut shit for like a spiritual purpose, for like, and for me, because it feels right. And like, how are you going to tell me that that's like a bad thing? So I hope people come at me, because I've been in the mood to be angry about shit and just like stand up for stuff. So like, let's go, like, please. But like I get it. And at the same time, like, I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people who police the terms we use for feminine sexuality, it's like, well, are you a swerf? Like, are you a turf? Because especially if that, I don't fucking care what you have to say. So
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to s.xlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on S.x Love Psychedelics.